Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Woo-hoo.
Hello, welcome to Conversations with SOTU. I'm Adrienne Metcalf,
I'm Josh Schwartzbeck.
and Josh is a professional channel, a professional medium. He channels the consciousness we call SOTU, who I've been in conversation with, along with many others, for over 20-some years. And you're going to get to listen in to part of that conversation today. And join in, too, at some point if you'd like to send in questions. We happily take those. Josh, you ready to channel?
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Here we go.
Actually, this is very easy. SOTU was here 5 minutes ago. Here we go. All right. Actually, we never left. All right. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, dear one. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
All right. And so what kind of trouble are you going to get us into in this show?
Well, we might get into some trouble.
All right.
Because in our last show, we were talking about the changes that could be potential for humanity.
That
using
was represented with the eclipse.
Were
Yes.
represented by the eclipse as a
Yes.
turning point
Yes,
that we may
absolutely.
look back on.
Yes.
That could lead to more compassion. That
More
could
compassion, more understanding, a great number of things. More compassion for yourselves, dear ones. You know, more compassion for others, but certainly more compassion for yourselves because you are most critical of yourselves.
So you didn't say that it was automatically going to become buttery and easy, that there were challenges to be faced.
Absolutely so,
And-
because what would a journey be without the dynamic of the ability to make choices and the ability to have greater and, what shall we say, more expansive experiences. And those experiences do not have to be negative. We are talking about positive, expansive experiences.
So, as of the taping of this show, there's been a great deal of not positive, negative experiences happening here in this country
Certainly so, especially over the past few weeks.
that have to do with divisiveness.
Yeah.
Based on, it played out, of course, as you probably well know, through Charlottesville and levels of violence, but that was only a spark for what has
Well,
been
it was
going
a tip
on.
of the iceberg, and it was a purely contrived event in that sort of way, and there were a great many dynamics, and even though we may lose a great deal of you in this statement, in fact, Mr. Trump was right. There is a great deal of, what shall we say, responsibility to be held on both sides. And no, it's not about a moral equivalency or anything else. It is about taking responsibility for your actual actions. The condoning of violence in any form is, what shall we say, negative at the very least, and holds a karmic debt attached to it. Even though it may be a small one, those little karmic debts tend to add up over a lifetime.
So there are people who, seemingly for the right reasons, are doing some things that, as you say, are negative and could even have a karmic debt.
But you're assuming they're for the right reasons, and we do not make that assumption. We would say that a dynamic is that many people are doing. We would say, and again, this is going to get us in trouble.
This might be a trouble show.
Those that are, what shall we say, white nationalists, what they call, but in it, these labels, they absolutely have no real meaning to them. but these people that are the extreme of the right just love the fact that there is an extreme of the left now, because now they have somebody to fight. And the extreme of the left in their dynamic of their perpetration of violence and the disgusting ways that they choose to protest. It is animal-like to throw feces. If in fact you are, have no more, what shall we say, advancement of understanding of human nature, to realize that that sort of dynamic is so negative and so, what shall we say, karmically bound.
Well, it degrades the human spirit that supposedly there is a movement to uplift. So it's doing neither, and then all of it is keeps one in an emotional reptilian reaction.
And let us remember one thing, shall we? Each and every one of you is a product of your environment. In other words, how you were brought up is shaping and shapes who you are now. And there, but for the grace of the divine, goes you. Because in a different familial circumstance, in a different circumstance of upbringing, you could easily present the polar opposite of what you believe right now.
So beliefs are up for question, but certainly draw the line around action, because as you're talking about, the violence is an action. People are going to think many different things, have all sorts of beliefs, and the freedom of speech in this country is about being able to give voice to have those beliefs.
No matter how objectionable you may find them.
But the violence is another realm, which is action that is different from holding beliefs or even speaking beliefs, because there seems to be a certain movement towards people feeling victimized
well,
by
let's put it this way. You know, we were just talking about the dynamic of moral equivalency. All right? What has is there a moral equivalency from, on the one hand, being a racist and a Nazi, to another of being willing to throw feces and urine on someone? Is there a moral equivalency there? Can you find a dynamic? Because that's what you're doing here. You're trying to say that one side is better than the other side, and in fact, there is this is a paradox, isn't it? If you have a dynamic of the right that represents the conservative, and you have the left that represents the liberal or the progressive, are there not truth and lies in both ends of that paradox? And understanding the truth and lies in those is an exercise that most of you out there in your world are unwilling to do?
To consider that there are reasons for people holding the beliefs that they do.
That's correct. The channel and Adrienne had dinner with a friend on Friday night who is moving out to the Midwest, and who had a sudden realization after coming out of the bubble that exists on both coasts, that the middle of the country is in dire straits and people are feeling desperate. If you are divorced from that dynamic and you have no compassion for that and you do not realize that, then you are blind.
So it's possible that new abilities, new perspectives that...
You keep going with these new abilities.
You
already have all the ability you need.
To look at things objectively, to
You
step
think
out
that
of it.
God is going to come in and save you and say suddenly everybody is going to have an active part of their brain, everyone is going to move into their frontal lobes automatically, God's going to do it for us. Wait a minute, it's the blue avians that are going to save us. Wait a minute, it's the people from Orion that are going to save us. Wait a minute, it's Donald Trump that's going to save us, or some other politician.
No.
When in fact there is only one person that's going to save you, and that's you.
All right. So the princess part of me,
Explain princess, please.
the princess part of me is a part
That was sneaky.
that feels entitled to just have life handed to me rather than having to put in the work.
Yeah, next lifetime may have to be as a penniless beggar somewhere, huh?
No.
Oh, yeah. If you take that attitude to the extreme in the dynamic of a lifetime, you know, we've said that Dick Cheney in his next lifetime is going to be penniless. We've said that any number of people are going to. Here's a good one for you. George W. Bush is going to be a monk.
We won't go back into
Karma.
into
Karma. 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 And please understand the dynamics of karma. Karma isn't an automatic thing, but you have to understand when you pass over, you know the right thing. You wish to grow. The purpose of incarnation is to have experiences so that you may grow, so that you may become more.
So the princess part of me doesn't wish to have to do the work
Correct.
of
Correct.
thinking a new
Well, but
thought.
that only comes, thinking a new thought, but that only becomes because of all of the seeming failures and the belief that you're not good enough around the dynamics of a lifetime. The dynamic of princess is developed when one is an adolescent. You're still carrying that?
No, I'm just illustrating.
Well, but again, we say.
Illustrating because I think it is a common thread for many people.
Oh, especially women.
Of course.
No, not to say that there aren't plenty of male princesses. And we don't mean gay men either. We mean that sometimes the manliest, most burly individual is in fact, what's the word?
So it does come down to individual movement to hold new perspectives and consider
Well,
compassion.
you don't have to do a lot of work as far as that goes, because if you understand the journey of a lifetime through the dynamics of a seemingly incremental journey, then what you have chosen is going to make the opportunity available to you, isn't it?
Certainly.
Oh.
We'll be given
So you don't have to be anything more than who you are right now, do you? Funny how that works.
No. There is a slight concern about trusting myself.
Well, that's your concern with you.
Well, I think that's a common.
We trust the way reality works. Do you trust the way reality works? In the understanding that you
Yes.
have after 20 years of beating it into your head around the dynamics of how you create your reality, do you understand how you translate the, what shall we say, the raw material of creation into your reality?
A good part of the time, yes.
And that's all you have to do, dear ones. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to remember 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you have to do is remember enough. And you will find that that place of responsibility is a lot more comfortable than the other place.
Then the princess place.
Well, more than the princess place, but the place that would lie, the place that would create, the place that would not have it, would have no integrity. You know, think of what your life would be if you never told the lie. Again, from now on, because you could start now, you know. You don't have to make amends for everything in the past. In fact, every morning when you get up, it starts the possibility of a whole new reality if you take it that way.
Blank slate.
It could be, unless you're carrying a lot of baggage with you. But then there is what? The opportunity to begin to clean up that baggage.
There are ways to do that. There are ways.
There are absolutely ways to do that. But from now on, if you engaged in the dynamic of integrity, then it would, what shall we say, simplify your life. It would not be as complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you tell a lie, you have to remember it and tell the next lie so that that makes sense with the last lie. And
Right.
you know, except when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything except the truth.
Right. And there it is. You have it all the time. So even though there's divisiveness in the country right now and in the world, we have every ability. It's more a matter of choice.
Yes. It is becoming more and more a matter of choice, absolutely so. And each of you in your own way are going to be faced with your own issues. And if you remember the dynamic of integrity, you can realize all of a sudden that if it has to do with integrity, your soul is talking to you. It's asking you to make a choice. And if you make the positive choice, well, that leads to the next positive choice and the next one and the next one. If you have been on a path of negativity for many, many years, well, it may take you a little bit of time to change the momentum, but it is a much shorter timeline than what got you there in the first place. All right?
All right.
All right.
So you've mentioned several times soul talking to us.
Yeah, well, we are a representation of soul after all.
You are, yes. But we each have our own individual souls.
Correct, which is not us.
Which is not you.
We do not speak to any of you directly except for the channel, and then it's under protest. His protest, not ours.
Well, of course, you speak with those who engage you.
Yes, but in a conscious sort of way, in a very, what shall we say, ritualized sort of way, by coming through a channel and coming through someone that has a strong personality and someone who presents us in such a way as to have a certain measure of consistency to it, because it's the consistency of the dynamic that's very important in understanding. Emotions are so non-linear, you know, they are so quicksilver in their own way.
Fluid.
They move here, they move there, they move all over. Mercurial.
Mercurial, yes.
They move all over the place. And yet there is rhyme and reason if you can begin to understand how it works.
There's a language there.
There is a language, a metaphor and symbol, and reflection.
So we're coming back around to our souls, because since each of us, this movement forward...
Your soul's basic purpose. Is that what you're looking for here? Your
No.
soul's basic purpose is for what?
To remind us of those choices we made pre-incarnation.
To give you, more than that.
To grow.
To give you the opportunity.
To be more.
To choose the path that you have wished to follow pre-lifetime.
Yes.
And even though you still do not remember the path chosen, your soul does. And your soul, depending on the levels of importance you put upon the experience chosen, is directly related to how loudly your soul will speak to you. Your soul begins by speaking very quietly. Want more love in your life? Do you want more love in your life? Huh? Do you want more love in your life? Are you sure? Again, we've explained it before. You can go back in some of the earlier shows and we'll explain the dynamic of soul's purpose. We explain the dynamics of soul's purpose, which is basically to give you the opportunities that you have chosen to have in a lifetime.
Because we've forgotten them.
Because you're on a linear path. Aha! Because you're on a linear path.
So we only
If
see
you were on
one step and the next
That's
step
right,
and the
that's
next
right.
step.
You're utilizing a dynamic of limited vision because no one in your world has taught you how to think in the fourth dimension.
Well, that was my question then. Does soul is operating in a way from a fourth dimensional?
It begins with the three-dimensional. Don't you have to see in the three-dimensional before you can appreciate the four-dimensional? So we spend most of our time operating within the dynamics of the third dimension, three-dimensional dynamic, because you have to learn to operate within the dynamic of the three dimensions before you can move to the fourth. Power of paradox. Truth and the lies in both ends of a paradox. Seeing them and understanding them both simultaneously, the positive and the negative, allows one to rise to that third position, that quantum position of knowing the truth.
Which can become its own playing field.
Which can become its own playing field. Which does become, and it's not a playing field, it's a different reality. It's an advanced understanding.
And humanity is moving towards that. We have the possibility.
Some people are.
Well,
People are waking up, you know. Is everybody doing everything? Why do you ask us these strange sort of questions?
No, it's not an all or nothing.
Well, but you're trying to get us to do an all or nothing.
Okay.
All right? Critical mass is reached when 3% believe the same thing.
When you say
only 3%?
When you say critical mass, you're saying that becomes a...
It becomes a synergistic dynamic where it begins to build upon itself.
All right.
You know, the most difficult time that people have with understanding this work is now. Because as more and more people understand it, more and more people question, and more people move into a dynamic of a quantum understanding, a fourth dimensional understanding of things, it begins to build exponentially.
Right. And it becomes part of the conversation.
It becomes a meme.
Becomes a meme, and people grok it.
Well, some people do. Some
people do, of course.
Again, if it's an individual dynamic, then some people are going to resist, aren't they? Especially those that are, what shall we say, intimately married to the system as it stands right now.
That system isn't working very well.
No, and it's going to keep screwing up in its sort of way until it forces, unless and until you make the choice to move out of it, or until it forces you to move out of it. It's going to happen one way or the other. Will you choose to do it, transformation, or will you be forced to do it, evolution? One way or another, it's going to happen.
All right, on that joyous note.
Well, do you think it's joyous?
Because, yes, you're outside of time and space, and you see that eventually we make it.
Well, one way or the other. As we have often said, you know, you are going to do this. The question is, how much kicking and screaming are you going to do along the way? And so, on that note, we love you all so very, very much. We are so too. And so until the next time. Oh, and today is the 21st day of August in 2017, and this is the second part of the Eclipse show. And so until next time we close, sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy, and reminding you it's going to get lighter from here.
Thank you for joining us for another rollicking conversation with SOTU.
Frolicking.
Rollicking. A lot to think about and digest, no doubt. If you have questions, if you're interested in becoming part of a small studio audience here where you're not on camera, but your questions might get answered by SOTU for later this fall, we'd love to create that. You can find more information about SOTU at our website, Conversations with SOTU. You can send comments, questions through the television station or through our website contact page. And also, if you're interested in some of the thoughts or ideas about what the new paradigm could look like, Peace Begins with Enough for All, please go to the peacegenesisproject.org, our sister site. And we're all in it together. Let's make it transformation. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday